Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're tuning in from. Thank you so much for joining us for our first ever virtual conference, OmniTesting Conf. I'm your host, Donislava Docheva from X-Ray. X-Ray is the creator and sponsor of OmniTesting Conf. If you haven't heard of us before, X-Ray is the leading quality assurance and test management app for Jira. The theme of this conference is OmniTesting, which is a state of testing that encompasses everything. Because of this theme, our sessions today cover many different aspects of software testing, from methodologies like Agile, exploratory testing, and BDD, to how to add more security tests and automation to the continuous delivery pipeline. We'll also take a look into the future and explore AI testing. Finally, we'll bring it all together and explore how these different methodologies and concepts intersect at our closing session roundtable, where all speakers will give their unique take on software testing. During all talks, we encourage you to ask questions through the Ask a Question button, which you'll always find on the left side panel. After each presentation, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A with the speaker, and they'll be able to answer your questions. You can also chat with fellow participants in the chat box, which you can also find on the left side panel. So, let's jump right into our headlining talk. Our headliner of the day is Sergio Freire, who is the head of solution architecture at X-Ray. His talk will introduce you to our theme of this conference and go over what OmniTesting means for modern software development. And with that, I'll hand over the word to our headliner. Sergio, over to you.
Hi everyone, and thanks for the introduction. I hope you all have an awesome OmniTesting Conf. My name is Sergio, and I'm a thinker and a learner. I love creativity, questioning, and all those questions that make us wonder, what if, how about, can it perhaps, maybe, well, questioning and experimentation has been part of our evolution as humans, and it's also part of testing. Today I want to introduce the concept of OmniTesting. Let's say it's my evolved perspective on what testing really is. First, what is Omni? Omni comes from the Latin word omnis and means whole, the whole of, all things, everything. Omni-testing as a concept came up during a discussion in a forum in Ministry of Testing about what we mean with continuous testing. Well, it seems people talk about it and mean different things. Unfortunately, some meanings are very far off of what is behind it. Continuous testing is not about running continuously the automated checks, many times referred as automated tests. Instead, it's much more, as we'll see during this presentation. I prefer to call it omni-testing as a way to highlight testing as something crucial, multi-angled, holistic, as Janet Gregory calls, and that you can really turn off. Omni-testing isn't something totally new. Instead, it's a way of looking at testing, uncovering its full potential and scope. Omni-testing is an interesting part of building, operating, and maintaining a product. It's essential to the optimization of the value stream. Let me share Lisa Crispin's and Janice Gregory's definition of agile or continuous testing. Here you can see that we are talking about practices that occur continuously and not about automated tests running continuously. We can also see that it's a team sport to build quality in, and the team does it continuously because value is being worked on and delivered, hopefully continuously. My definition on testing is probably not so much complete and accurate as the other ones out there, but it's my perspective. At least it was when I wrote it some time ago, inspired by previous work from the community. Testing is a target process of challenge something for example, a product, and our understanding about it, using a set of activities leveraged by specific human skills. Where target process means a set of activities having a common goal. For example, having in mind the quality attributes that will produce actionable information. And challenging includes trial, experimentation, checking. Activities, in the other end, they include building models, create test ideas, execute actions in the system, investigation, asking questions, providing feedback, collaborate. And with human skills, I mean creativity, for example, curiosity, perseverance, critical thinking, communication, courage, continuous learning kind of mindset. So testing is exploratory by nature. We try things and test ideas. We explore to seek understanding, to obtain information, as Dan Ashby states in his adapted model of James Bach heuristic test strategy model. We also use other approaches, such as script-based tests or checks, which sometimes are automated, and we use them to verify compliance with predefined rules. Use all the outputs we collect as data that we process. This data becomes information, which is then used to improve our learning of the system or the product and provide feedback to stakeholders, no matter if we are talking about the business or the product team. Whenever testing something, we have in mind certain quality attributes: correctness, usability, scalability, some sort of requirements that we demand or expect from it. And to perform it, we test it at different levels and use a bunch of different techniques that help us shape what we call tests. And we test everything: software, hardware, specifications, established ideas, documents, and specifications. Thus, testing is a complete omni process that uses best of breed human skills to answer tailored questions, to clarify our understanding about something, and that can help shape it before, during, and after it is built. We all like testing, but now I want to talk about food. Really? Really? So imagine for a second that you're cooking a recipe in order to deliver a meal. We'll use it to understand the mission of cooking and then come up with the testing mission. Actually, cooking is about delivering an experience, in my opinion. For that, you'll need to research, continuously tasting it during the cooking process, asking feedback, and measuring it afterwards. It's all part of delivering an awesome experience. You will use your hands and some tools to speed up part of the process. You'll use also your mind and your creativity to adapt to the unforeseen. In case you need to deal with unknown, or if you wish to optimize it for the end users, the customers that you have at that given moment that will enjoy it. And while making a meal, we can think of it as delivering an experience or the value. Testing is about obtaining information and understanding, so we can deliver the best value-added product, and that way provide an awesome experience. But similarly to testing, value needs to be provided as fast as possible and continuously because users are hungry. Their experience cannot stop. This implies that we need to work better and smarter to deliver faster, but we need to do it while understanding what matters at a given moment, the different dimensions of value and its validity. Alan Page and Brent Jensen defined the testing mission as accelerate the achievement of shippable quality. I really like this phrase. It made me think for a while, but I would slightly rephrase it as accelerate the delivery of value. Two words promptly pop up: accelerate and value. First, let's talk about value and its relation to quality. And this is where the quality ice cream truck model comes. So once again, I'm talking about food. Sorry for that. The purpose of an ice cream truck is to provide great, delightful moments to the ice cream buyers. Uh, I myself like ice cream a lot. And the idea is that to serve them and all of us a tasty ice cream. And I hope that this model really resembles to ice cream truck. At least for me, it looks at first sight. And there are for sure more relations and more entities that we could represent, but I try to simplify it to a point. And in this model, all is around value. Value is the driver of our ice cream truck. Quality is the perceived value at a given moment. It's quality that defines what is valuable. Knowing what is relevant will shape our testing, which in turn will provide us information on our quality. Testing informs us on risks, opportunities, and also gaps. We can consider a defect as a risk in this model. The outputs of testing can affect value in different ways, depending on the action we take, how we build or code the product, and how we operate it, also will affect value. Observability can be used, for example, to highlight risks and confirm the value of our product by looking at its usage. Operation of our product also provides important information. So even though information comes from multiple sources, testing outputs are essential to provide insights about quality and act on value. This involves shared understanding and collaboration so that necessary changes can be implemented. No matter by whom. You can see here also that in this model there is a relation that I'm still trying to figure out the relation between observability and gaps. I do think that observability can give us clues about gaps, but I'm still working in this relation as it is something new, quite new for me, at least in its full extent. But if we aim to optimize value, we need to agree on quality first. And each person looks at a system in different ways, though, giving value to different aspects, to different quality criteria. Thus, the perceived value by each person will be different. So this is why it's important to agree on what quality really represents, what are those criteria that matter. So let's use now a trip as an analogy. Every time you take a trip, you do it with different goals and concerns. Even if it's to the same place, the bag you take will be different and unique, containing different elements, which will, in this case, will be different quality criteria. So what this means is that the value, as you define it through quality, will be different each time. Quality is similar. It is something that depends of perspective on what matters, and this will also change with time. So value is not static. Value changes with time due to different factors, such as the missed market windows, for example. And these pictures here, they are based on the book, The Principles of Product Development Flow. Therefore, speed is important, not just because of implicit cost, but as you can see, there is also a cost of delay. So we can stop for a bit now and rethink testing all over again. So let's do that together. And If we look at the past, software was being built during long cycles based on extensive lists of specifications. Many times testing was seen as a task performed by some dedicated person or even a specific QA department. In this old view of making software, you see people discussing a lot around deadlines and about missed expectations. I've seen that so many times, unfortunately. But software development has evolved meanwhile, and including testing. We now talk about making and delivering software using lean principles, namely the lean software development principles as depicted by Mary and Tom Popelik. If we go over these 7 principles, we can see that they are related to speed and or to value, as you can see by the colored letters before each bullet. This maps to our testing mission of accelerating the delivery of value by optimizing the value stream. But also the software itself has changed in several ways. Let me try here to enumerate at least a few of them. First, the type of features used nowadays. It's different. Second, the demands users have, for example, are related to performance and responsiveness. Third, how the software is built. Previously, we were talking about monoliths, and now we are talk about containers and pods and Kubernetes, so on and so forth. Fourth, also the way our software is deployed and distributed is changed. So we now talk about deploying to the cloud and also making use of continuous delivery. Fifth, we also see more and more external dependencies, namely on open source libraries. Uh, we see many projects depending on many artifacts on Maven, on Node, for example. Six, tooling around building software is also different. 7, scale. So instead of, let's say, thousands of users thinking about us, we think thinking about our system handling those thousands of users, we are now perhaps thinking about handling millions of them. So the scale is quite different. And all of these affect the value and also affects all testing in many different ways. Evolution around building software products also involves evolution in testing as means to secure value. Value itself is supported by many things, including what I call the pillars of testing. Testing looks at value as it's precious. The product is the main value enabler and also the main asset in testing. Exposing and assessing risks in all that concerns the product is key to preserve value. So many testing is highly connected with handling risks and mitigating and avoiding them. And this can only be done if the team is aware of them and works together through shared understanding to deliver the necessary improvements. Improvements not only on the product code, but also activities in the value stream to increase the efficiency, for example. Improvements and discoveries about our product that are only possible through experimentation. And I don't think that having strong pillars allows us to deliver value safer and also more frequently. Systems thinking tell us that components of a complex system interrelate and that behavior of the system results from reinforcing and balancing processes involving these components. Therefore, if we want to improve this bucket wheel excavator Can we just look at the component in isolation, or do we need to take all the parts into consideration and their relations, having in mind the overall excavator goals? Well, the answer, at least for me, is straightforward. No component works in isolation, and there are some components that contribute more to the overall system goal. On the other end, highly improving a specific component can affect negatively the overall system. In testing, we need to think on the system and on quality as a whole. Of course, individual component matters, but if we invest time doing or testing the wrong things, um, that will divert us from achieving greater overall quality goals. There are some components that you can tune that will affect how other parts work and how the overall system behaves. The art of testing is discovering where the leverage points are that can give us better overall results. This requires us to have an holistic and risk-oriented approach to testing. However, the boundaries of testing are not restricted just to the software itself. We need to consider the system in a broader perspective. So I will now share a personal experience. So some time ago, I was planning going to the beach and I opened this official and the government recommended kind of application that would tell me information about the beach occupation, telling me if it was safe or not to go there. But as you can see, the application told me low occupation. The problem was that it was almost 12 p.m. and the information was from 7 a.m. Of course, at 7 a.m., the occupation is low or zero. That made this application totally useless to me. Even though it worked from a functional point of view, uh, it made clear that people forgot about looking at quality in a broader perspective. So it's not just about the code, the features that you build with it. It's also about the processes around it, even human ones. In this concrete case, humans would update once in a while the information in the app's back office. However, the time for doing so affects the value provided by the application. Therefore, the borders of quality go beyond the scope of development. We need to consider the whole value delivery chain. Nowadays, we are being flooded with DevOps all over the places. We are here also about DevSecOps, DevSecTestOps. What does it all mean in hand? Well, with DevOps, teams have the necessary skills within them to build and deploy and operate software. One of the ideas behind it is to diminish the lead time from a code commit until that code goes to production. This implies that teams need to collaborate much more and have some sort of cross-pollination of skills. So it's a mindset about delivering value more effectively and monitoring and taking care of that value. And we know that we can only be more effective if we acknowledge quality aspects from the start, such as security or performance, and embrace it together as a team. As Dan Hashby shows in this sketch, no matter where you are looking at in the DevOps infinite loop, testing has always something to say, some insights to provide, giving us opportunities to improve the overall loop. However, many people think on DevOps as Dev Automation Ops. Sorry, it's not Dev Automation Ops. They think DevOps is just about automating everything, including testing through test automation, and this is not really accurate. Of course, automation is essential to free up people to activities where they can provide more value, such as exploratory testing. And automated testing done right can give us valuable feedback sooner. But test automation is in one way like sugar. And I'll, I'll keep talking about food. So if you're preparing some dessert it's essential to have some sugar on it. But if you just add too much, the dessert won't taste anything else but sugar. Therefore, as in preparing the dessert, the goal itself should not be on adding sugar or test automation. Instead, we should think about where, when, and to what extent to add it. Test automation allows us to shorten the feedback loops and provide hopefully near real-time feedback that can give us insights that in turn can inform us and shape our decisions. However, it's not the magical solution. If you focus just on it, you'll miss the point about the dessert you're preparing. In test automation pyramids, you all heard about it. Our way of talking about the different layers at which we can implement automated tests or checks, the efforts and the speed of those tests. They're not like text written in stone. They're stone that needs to be worked in order to build the foundations of our test automation strategy. If we think on pyramids, we need to understand all the work involved and how they can easily become massive and useless, full of labyrinths where we can get lost. So before building a pyramid, it's better to discuss within the team where value can be provided more effectively. Always having in mind that there are different types of value and that they should not be seen in isolation. Pyramids are, in fact, interesting historical artifacts, but they're static. They don't reflect the nature of our software build pipelines, though. We build and test software in multiple steps and stages. We get feedback about code coverage, code quality, dependencies, and security. We run unit tests, of course, but we also obtain feedback from integration, functional and performance tests. And if we are building Docker images, we also check them. As our software moves within the pipeline, we can obtain different kinds of immediate feedback that complement one another. When a rock or some dust gets inside the tubes of our pipeline, we can promptly act in order to make the pipeline flow once again. Tools that support testing can leverage the building of these pipelines, where we get feedback as fast as possible. However, they won't neither design the pipelines that are most effective to you or to us, nor critically test the liquid that will flow inside the pipelines considering the context where you're implementing them. In order to evaluate if the liquid that flows inside of our pipeline, in other words, our product, if it's good, knowing that good is a subjective qualifier, we need to taste it. Having in mind we'll use it. This may look like a simple thing at first sight, but it requires many questions and context. Experimentation, observation, discussion, reflection, learning. We also check assumptions and preliminary raw data such as specifications and other. As we do this, we taste a bit of our product and understand more a bit about it and where it stands. We use that. We use what I call, let's say, the learning lollipop to sail in the lake of truth. The lake of truth contains all possible behaviors and usages of our product. You can see it on the right side of the slide. It contains some small islands that are identified in the maps. We can go there and check if maps are accurate, but even so, we might discover something new. The lake is mostly full of unknowns, unknown waters, though. You can see those waters represented in blue. Waters that we need to sail so that we can uncover bits of our product and expose risks. The learning lollipop is really tasty. We use it to continuously raise questions, design test experiments, execute them, observe and analyze the results, and learn. As we taste it, we navigate in our lake of truth and expose some bits of the known. We learn how our product behaves or how it doesn't. That in turn gives ideas to sell to new places and they cover additional bits of our product. And we perform this in an exploratory way because our product is full of unknowns. As we look to our product, most times we think that we know everything about it beforehand. As you approach that ideal world, you could simply start confirming what you knew. However, most of our knowledge um, about aspects related to our product, including its purpose and usage, are unknown and dark. We can only tackle and uncover them through exploration. While doing so, in those experiments we also perform many checks to validate or invalidate our hypothesis, the model we are building about our product. So yes, exploring also is implicitly assisted by many checks we perform manually or using a tool. And we do it with our eyes and our brain open. We use a diverse set of complementary skills to provide more valuable insights about our product. We use skills such as curiosity, critical thinking, communication, among many other. It's hard to highlight one of them, but perhaps we can consider learning as a major skill. If we think on learning as a multifaceted skill itself, all of these skills play a role in testing. Skills that we use to unleash test ideas based on heuristics. There are many heuristics that explore certain types of risks and other certain quality criteria. As no single heuristic covers all the different aspects that compose our definition of quality, we need to use wisely a diverse range of them. This is what Kemp Kinner calls the diverse of measures. So let's wrap up and start with the why of um, why we test. Ultimately, we seek quality, which is a broad, diverse, weighted set of quality attributes that represent value provided by our product. Value that we need to provide continuously and efficiently. Imagine that you're going to test a city. What would you test? There's no single answer because, in fact, testing requires us to look at different things and at those things all together. So yes, we test almost everything. We look at the whole picture to see how it works, the usage patterns and the flows. We have a look also at certain parts and check their purpose and see how they interact. We can deep dive into details to assess how it works and if we can improve it. We look at how software is built, packaged, versioned, released, deployed, and uh, also how we monitor the software in production. So all artifacts that we are dealing with somehow they are targetable by testing. And where do we test? Well, nothing escapes testing. Since the moment we're discussing product ideas, user stories, acceptance criteria, to the moments that we We're turning those ideas into prototypes of value, assembling, packaging, and distributing it. All the bits of our product lifecycle and the assets that we handle can be targeted by testing. Therefore, we test at multiple layers, at multiple stages of our pipeline. We test concepts, we test code, we test users. From the whiteboard up to the customer, testing is done everywhere where we can. Learn a bit more about our product and improve the value we provide. As Lena Pejgan says, testing can be done from the time I hear a user express a need to the time I stop working on a particular system. Testing uses one special tool. Do you know what it is? I'll give you a few seconds for you to figure it out. Feel free to share your thoughts. The major tool is our brain. Testing happens inside the human's brain, yet it's assisted by manual work and software tools. Tools for performance and security testing, for example. And we also use them to automate checks, what sometimes we call simply as automated tests. We use scripted testing for checking and exploratory testing for discovering. We use these approaches together. So when do we test? At a specific moment? As I already mentioned a few moments ago, quality is a concern. So it's always present, and the value it defines is affected by all sorts of activities we continuously perform whenever developing and maintaining a product. Testing, as quality's closest friend, is not done on a specific stage. There's no specific time for it, and you can turn it off because you can always improve the value around your product and the efficiency to enable its delivery and maintenance. We saw that quality is not the responsibility of a single person or group of people. Instead, it's a team effort, as everyone's actions can affect value somehow, and thus the quality of the product. Every single one of us needs to have testing as a core concern, always. Nevertheless, testers can drive conversations around quality, making sure all team understands and embraces it. We should be more and more quality coaches, and we can learn and improve together. So let's sum up the main characteristics of OmniTesting. OmniTesting highlights testing as an intrinsic part of making and maintaining high quality products. And as quality covers so many aspects about our products, it requires a team level commitment because everything we do or that we don't may affect the value we are providing. Ultimately, this means we cannot shift it. Omni-testing is an about because it is not limited to specific roles or people, specific assets, specific test levels, types, techniques, or approaches, specific methodologies, specific phases, specific tools, specific timing. Instead, Omni-testing looks at testing in a more complete way, involving all of the previous in a dynamic way, accordingly with risks, to make sure our efforts are used to maximize value and diminish the time to make it to production. But it also looks at the value as something dynamic and that cannot be disconnected from what is happening in production. We cannot ever forget that value is served in production, otherwise it's waste. Omni-testing is human-centered. People collaborate with one another in order to increase shared understanding. And They will also use tools to assist them in some tasks whenever possible. But it's humans in the team that drive testing. Testing that doesn't wait for inputs. Instead, it is an active player and an influencer on how value is materialized in the solution or product that we are building. By raising questions, by observing, by looking for gaps, by talking about risks, all of that provides uh, learning and improvement opportunities that we can take advantage of continuously. Testing not only as a multifaceted skill, but as an holistic concern crucial to value. Testing that is part of building a product and not something we can opt out. Testing that is built around the idea of understanding and maximizing value as a whole, and not about finding bugs. OmniTesting may not be a radical new concept, but it's so much more than running automated tests continuously. Perhaps calling it Omni may tell much more about its unique essence. And that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this session. My name is Sergio. I work for the X-Ray team, and you can find me on Twitter using the Dark Telecom handle or on my website, sergiofreire.com, where I post some articles related to agile and testing and also software development. You can use the QR code if you want to get there easier. Thank you, and I'm now available for questions.